Let's bring in Maajid Nawaz. He is chair of the Quilliam Foundation. He's in our central London office for us now. Thank you for joining us on Sky News this afternoon. And the journalist organisation translated there into English, basically saying this is an attack on press freedom and it should not be allowed to succeed.
Yes, absolutely. This is it's a terrible, terrible tragedy, and my heartfelt condolences go out to all of the victims' families and to the French people. They mustn't be cowed. The only way beyond this, what I would describe as currently a social crisis across Europe, and that is the question of successfully integrating in both directions Europe's Muslim communities with mainstream society. The only way around this is to continue in a principled way, and freedom of speech is one of the core principles that make up the foundations of our societies, and it's non-negotiable, I'm afraid.
We've heard from the Arab League and a top Muslim body that have condemned this attack in Paris in the strongest possible terms. We also heard from a cartoonist that was just arriving at work when these hooded gunmen also arrived at the scene. They claimed to represent Al-Qaeda. What could possibly be the motive? We've heard that they have denigrated the Prophet Muhammad in cartoons previously, but a massacre, killing so many people, critically injuring so many more?
Well, I think the motive in this instance, it's clear that it's beyond the issue of the cartoon. These are trained, they appear to be trained and organised, a small fringe, nevertheless, but still a danger to French society. And this sort of operation appears to be a military-style operation. And so the objectives on a strategic and tactical level will go beyond mere offence at the cartoon. The cartoon issue, it's a convenient target of choice for them, but that nevertheless does raise a question, and that question is something that mainstream society needs to grapple with around freedom of speech, and Europe's Muslim communities need to start talking about as well. If we, after the torture report, as Muslim communities spoke about the dangers of torture and the importance of human rights, then after this incident it follows that we must start openly discussing a reform of our traditional attitudes towards blasphemy. And I think that this would be a moment for us to all reflect and push from within communities for a change around such attitudes, because without that, I'm afraid we breed the sorts of mindsets that justify these sorts of actions.
What do you mean by that?
Well, currently there's a huge taboo around that within Muslim communities, and I want to emphasize that to everyone else in wider society, that the overwhelming majority of Muslims would condemn and have condemned this attack. However, that doesn't allow us to get away from the fact that there needs to be a very serious and open conversation, because in certain countries, in certain Muslim majority countries, the mere accusation of blasphemy leads to death, but in almost universal attitudes around this within Muslim communities, it's certainly a huge taboo to have this ability to scrutinize and openly speak about these sorts of issues. And the only way around that is an attitude change. And the reason why that's so important is because governments alone cannot succeed in defeating the threat of Islamist extremism. They must and they need to work with communities. And that means that the communities also share some of the responsibility, as does mainstream society, to start this conversation and to start reforming from within.
Good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us on Sky News.